Thank you, viewers, for joining us tonight in this edition of the Primetime Newscast on ETV. Over a dozen of persons have died in separate road accidents that occurred between yesterday and today in Cameroon. And the incident with the highest number of victims or casualties is that which took place yesterday along the Ngaoundéré and Gariwa highway, leaving at least 10 persons dead. And also the senior divisional officer for MEZAM says that the long-standing dispute between the people of Songwa and Mankon in that part of the country can be resolved only through dialogue. And our guest tonight tells us about the law binding the creation of a municipal police. These are major headlines. Details and more just in a moment. Thank you, viewers, for joining us tonight in this edition of the Primetime Newscast in ETV. On ETV, we begin right away in the capital city, Yaoundé, where an unidentified person feared to be a lunatic has been crushed by a train in that part of Cameroon. Roland Akon also tells us that in the same report that one of the bandits said to be threatening public peace in the Mimboma neighborhood, still in the capital city, Yaoundé, has been arrested. His report.
A man is crushed by a train on the rail at the Olezwa neighborhood in Yaoundé Friday.
Aux environs de 14 heures, on était placé là, tout juste à côté du marché. On suivait comment le clerc klaxonnait fort.
Eyewitnesses say the unidentified person did not quit the rail despite a honking, blaring sound of the train. It is widely alleged that the man was a lunatic.
Bon, le car a commencé à klaxonner, il ne s'est pas arrêté, il continue toujours à marcher. Subitement, j'ai vu comment le corps l'est remboursé au sol. J'ai commencé à crier du côté là qu'un type est mort là-bas en haut. Non, je ne le connais pas, mais je le vois sur les environs.
The incident delayed the train which was apparently heading to Douala for several hours. Security forces were struggling to remove the corpse from the wheels of the train when we were leaving the scene. At the Mimboma neighborhood, a thief who has been giving inhabitants sleepless nights by burgling houses is caught red-handed. A message he leaves behind in the houses he burgles warns residents of severe torture if they fail to surrender money and other valuable items to him. He was severely beaten by the population before handover to security forces.
And in the wake of those incidents in the capital city, Yaoundé, one person was also confirmed dead in a road accident which occurred around the Vuri Bridge. That was this morning, and the victim, a bike rider, was reportedly hit by a 20-year-old reckless driver. Annabella tells us more in the following report. We surely shall be coming back to that incident or the accident which took place on the Vuri Bridge that is in the early hours of this morning in a subsequent newscast. Now, let's talk about another incident which left 10 people dead, one person in a critical state following an accident or a ghastly accident that occurred along the Ngaoundéré Gariwa highway. And reports say a Toyota vehicle transporting 9 passengers on board collided with a truck, and that was transporting cement coming from the opposite direction, and the corpses of the victims have been deposited at the Social Insurance Hospital pending identification. Now the senior divisional officer for MEZAM division has called on the people of Mankon and Songwa in the northern region of the country to amicably resolve their long-standing dispute, and he was speaking during a meeting with both parties. Annabella tells us more in the following report.
The land disputes between the Gashu family, the Mankon people, and those of Songwa is far from being over. The quarrels had even led to physical conflicts between the two camps.
There have been numerous cases of assault where some people occupying the disputed piece of land has attacked people at Mile 90, causing a lot of havoc and actually injuring lots of people.
The Songwa people are attacking my clan because actually part of that land, his ancestral land, the father's land, whom my clan is the administrator of that estate, is Ankura. The father had lived there for more than 70 years.
2 persons of the Mankon side have been detained for destroying a police van. This the discontentment of their lawyer.
The police report clearly states that they went there to save the lives of my client. But I'm so surprised that my clients are being charged again for destroying the windscreen of a vehicle. How can you go to save somebody's life as the same that person who turns around to destroy?
The lawyers defending the interest of the Mancon people seems to be dissatisfied with the way the administration has been handling the issue.
These are two villages that have been coexisting for time immemorial. They had never had major disputes like the one today. It is the administration who came with administrative boundaries, and for whatsoever reason,
the deal has called on all the two parties to stop fighting and look for amicable solutions.
But in general, we ask you to remain calm. I call the two fronts. The problem now is, first of all, to put boundaries between Mancon and Songwa. After the boundary, we will see who has the farm part in each part of the land. Yeah.
And also, they should seek ways of developing the disputed land in Kora.
Mancon and Songwa are virtually in the heart of the town, and with regular skirmishes in the disputed area, it makes life very difficult for people living within the Bamenda town and its environs.
Now let's come back to the road accident that was reported in the early hours of this morning around the Vuri River, where one person was confirmed dead in that accident, and the victim, a bike rider, was reportedly hit by a 20-year-old reckless driver. Annabella tells us more in the following report.
This accident here around the Vuri Bridge has cost the life of one person, the bike rider, while one of the two students he was transporting is lying critically in the hospital after sustaining serious injury on his genital organ.
Le basculier est accroché sur sa moto là, déjà mort sur le champ. Pas un élève couché ici là. Son stage coulait que du sang. C'est là où je vois que celui-là, on ne sait pas s'il va vivre.
The unfortunate incident happened after a collision between a car and a commercial motorbike. It has been blamed on recklessness on the part of the car driver, who was inexperienced and aged just about 20.
On monte là-bas, on voit un enfant qui conduisait la voiture, un enfant, même pas 20 ans, sur la voiture. Il a pris la voiture de son père peut-être et sorti avec.
Eyewitnesses say the 20-year-old sustained minor injuries. Meanwhile, the life of the wounded student is on the fence as he is battling between life and death in hospital.
Mais on est en train de douter sur l'élève qui a été couché, c'est parce que son sang coulait que du sang.
The corpse of the bike rider has been deposited at the mortuary as security forces have opened investigations.
Now the killers of the 90-year-old widow in Cow Street, Bamenda Northwest region of the country are still on the run, while investigations are still ongoing, and the victim was murdered in cold blood under unclear circumstances. A senior reporter, Chris Toby, tells us in the following report.
A discovery was made by an 11-year-old boy on his way to school at about 6:30 a.m. That was Wednesday morning. Shouts of this boy after attempting to awaken old Mama Lucia Siri to no avail alerted neighbors, who streamed in just to realize that the close to 90-year-old widow was lying in a pool of her own blood, a huge stone beside her with a bleeding fresh wound on her head. The State Council and the police, after an on-the-spot preliminary investigations, have it that there were indications that the victim's mouth had been tied up to prevent her from shouting for help, and that she had lost a lot of blood from the stone used on her head. But who was Mami Angela, as she was fondly called here?
The whole of Cow Street, I don't think anybody could stand and testify that this mother has ever been quarrelsome or had ever bring a problem or brought problem to anybody. She had never. Since I grew up here, I grew up with her. She's a friend of my mother. She used to come to her compound. She sees my mother give her food, she eats. I've never seen her quarreling with anybody around. No neighbor had ever testified anything concerning this mother. So that's just what I have to say.
Full investigations have been opened by the Bamenda Judicial Police to track down those who must have killed this widow, who for decades now had been living alone in this Cow Street compound, not too far from her eldest son, who before now was questioned by the police.
Investigations, of course, have been opened while council workers in the Vuri division say that their working conditions should be improved upon and that their allocation allowances should be appropriately distributed. They also demand, amongst other things, a salary increase as well as social benefits, as Ranibel Satowara tells us in the following report.
Lack of support from divisional administrators, favoritism and other social setbacks like the absence of water are some of the problems some council workers in the Vuri division face. Workers of the Douala II Council say petitions and revendications to call for an improvement of their salaries and other social benefits have fallen on deaf ears. They said council officials took resolutions and made promises that never saw the dawn of day. At the Douala III Council, workers raised placards to demand the payment of salary arrears. They equally decried the lack of water within the precincts of the council.
Salary since 3 months. We are not yet paid. Even salary of December. Others of November. There's no salary. Second problem, the allocation of family. Since 20 years, they do not receive our allocation. And think about our retirement. What shall we do when we shall go to retirement? That's our problem.
The representative of the council staff explained that the text defining the working conditions is completely contrary to what they live at work.
Je vous demande d'aller à l'inspection de travail.
If you go to the regional delegation of public works, you'll find the documents containing the terms of work at the Douala III Council. It's simple. We only want them to negotiate with us and give us what is due. Council workers in Douala are calling on competent authorities to look into the situation.
The first match of teams of the Group C at the ongoing African Cup of Nations taking place in South Africa ended few minutes ago, with Zambia coming out 1-1 tie with Nigeria, and at 7 p.m. Burkina Faso will be taking against Ethiopia. And for the encounters that took place yesterday, Ghana is leading the Group B at the ongoing African Cup of Nations with 4 points, and Mali is second on the list with 3 points, the Democratic Republic of Congo 2 points, and Niger is tailing the group, of course, with 1 point. We shall be telling you the scores of the encounter between Burkina Faso and Ethiopia in our subsequent newscasts. And viewers, that does it for this segment of the news, where Talking Point is up next. Thanks indeed, viewers, for joining us tonight. Tonight we are going to be having a barrister at law to tell us about the creation of municipal police in the country. And of course, it is Barrister Mustafa Ngwana. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
You did perfectly. Good evening also.
So we are going to be talking about the creation of municipal police in the country. The president of La Dynamique, Abel Zongang, as we all know, has written to the Littoral Regional Governor decrying or presenting some of the ills that the municipal police here in the economic capital Douala are portraying in the city of Douala. And in the letter he says that they are contributing immensely to the urban disorder, the increasing rate of urban disorder in the country. So what do you make of his outing, his declaration?
I've gone through the declaration of this gentleman, and there is something that I want to make clear today, is that normally, according to the law, Article 19 of the law organizing the orientation of decentralization in Cameroon, this law number 2004/17 of 22nd July 2004. According to this law, municipalities are empowered to recruit personnel to organize the functioning of their different services. And according to law number 2004/18, particularly Article 3, there are some general missions that are attributed to municipalities, to mayors, and to put in place those missions, they have also the right to create municipal police. But there are some conditions that have to be fulfill. If you read Article 86 of the set of the law 2004/018 of 22nd July, you will discover that the mayor can edit police rules within his jurisdiction. But to do it, there is a deliberation of the municipality council that will create the municipality police. After the creation of municipality police, the deliberation has to be channeled to the minister in charge of territorial administration, and the said minister will now decide to homologate the said decision or not. To the best of my knowledge, maybe to err is human, I'm not aware of any decision or any arrêté taken by the Minister of Territorial Administration
as regard municipal police.
As regard municipal police. That's why we can think that most of those municipal police are totally out of the boundary of the law. You will surely remind a few years back that bike rider went and burned a park in Bonamusadi where they used to keep their vehicle. They used to keep vehicles and their bikes due to abuses of some of these municipal police officers. That means they were totally out of their jurisdiction from time to time. For example, I quite remember that a few years back when they were supposed to act within the central town, that means Aqua, Bonanjara, some few places, they used to go out of their jurisdiction. That's why we jurists, we say competence rationale loci. That means your jurisdiction within a particular territory. And when you go out of the territory, everything that you do is totally illegal.
Do you mean to say that some of these municipal police, they are operating illegally? Is that what you're saying?
I cannot say like a gospel truth. What I can say is that, to the best of my knowledge, I have no document, no element that can prove me or that can make me ascertain the fact that these municipal police are operating according to the provision of the law I just made mention of. Because normally, if there is an homologation of a deliberation of a municipal council, we, the citizen, we have to be informed so that we can also take our disposition to avoid to go against the law. Because the law is not only out to punish, but it's also to sensibilize citizens and to maybe to help them to transform their behavior.
Now, with some of the issues that the president of Las Dynamic was pointing out, he observed a lot of lapses as far as the municipal police here in the economic capital, Douala to be precise, is concerned. Have you observed some of these problems on the field?
Of course. I'm a citizen. I'm a citizen of the town. You will see that they are in markets, they are in many places of the town. Most of them are rude and really brutal. And most of them also act. I think even if there was a law or the creation of those municipal police was legal or all the conditions have been fulfilled, there are also a behavior that a civil servant has to have in the performance of his duty, and I think that's not the case. And there is something that I've not been mentioned few seconds back, is that the municipal police is when it's created, it functions under the control of the representative of the state. That means this is the GO or the SDO, and even the homologation by the Minister of Territorial Administration is a proof that he has a control on their activities. And I want to draw the attention of our fellow citizens that when these people are acting like that, and the authorities that have the duty of controlling their activities are not reacting, that means they are giving caution to those people to act like that. And that is another sign of bad governance, because the state is supposed to control their activities, and that are the provision of the law. That's why I can I can share part of the opinion of Mr. Nzonga with respect to the way these people are operating in town.
Now,
yes.
Talking about the fact that they are allegedly parking cars on pavements, extorting money from traders and from so many other people, taxi men in town, as well as bike riders. Is it their place to be doing what they are doing? Is it under their prerogative?
When I went through the document, I also discovered that it made mention of this municipal tax, well known in French as OTVP. We say Occupation Temporaire de la Voie Publique. Normally, when you read the law on what you call in French fiscalité locale, they give you the condition under which these taxes are supposed to be paid. Normally, when you want, you cannot just come in front of the store that belongs to somebody and say you pay OTVP because the store is open to the street. It's not like that. Normally, it's supposed before paying OTVP, there's an authorization to occupy a particular space that is given to you by the mayor, and the superficie you can, the space you can occupy also determine the charges that you are going to pay. That means they cannot come and ask you to pay charges just because you have your store open on the street. When you want to pay the state tax, normally there is an authorization that's prior to any other thing, and you should effectively occupy the street. You can imagine, for example, somebody that is building a house on a story. You want to throw maybe sand on the street, for example. The said person now is obliged to pay OTVP because during a certain period of time you'll be occupying the public domain. But this is not the case of most of those people in the markets and whatever in the country that are being how can I say,
now looking at the way
victim of those practices.
Looking at the way these municipal officers they operate, it looks like they are almost playing the role of policemen in the town as well as in the country. Don't you think so? Is it as a result of the fact that maybe security forces are not playing their role properly, or that there are just few in Cameroon today?
I think we should understand that those people, most of us don't master the boundary of their activities, because even the deliberation that create the municipal council determine their attributions, and there is a real separation between security forces and municipal police. Most of their activity is just prevention to avoid disorder in the town. But now there are attributions that belong to judicial police. What they do is what we call in the legal jargon administrative police. And they have their particular function that normally cannot interact with what of a.
And they seem not to be following their functions.
They are not following their functions. That's what we are saying. That's what we are saying, and it's not normal, and it's another sign of what we can say bad governance.
So is it not a problem to empower people like that in the country, empowering, because there are many in town, they are everywhere, they are in the markets, they are on the streets, and is it not dangerous for a country like Cameroon to empower people?
Of course, it's totally dangerous when you act out of the law. It's totally dangerous, and that's why Mr. Nzonga talk about a milice. That means a type of army, a total illegal forces acting on behalf of one or two people, and he has clearly explained in his document that there are some of them that are just acting on behalf maybe of one person working with the mayor without any legality. That's why we still think for a country that can also be a gem of creation of high insecurity instead of securing the population. And
is it not, who is to be blamed here? Are we blaming the municipality for not?
The state has a duty to regulate the functioning of the functioning of the whole nation. If the mayor act out of the limit of his jurisdiction, out of the limit of his competence. The person who has the capacity to give us citizens legal redress is the state. Is the state. If you want to blame somebody now, it's the state who is not performing his duty as expected by Cameroonians. That's the case.
Is this not a social phenomenon that should be looked into keenly?
Of course. If you think a political leader like Mr. Nzonga is writing in such a situation, I think the governor and the rest of the authorities has to give a look into the situation, because it's not normal when a citizen, particularly a citizen of his caliber, bring out an issue like that one, and they say nothing about it, and is forced to make an open letter. I think.
And this is the second time.
It's the second time, of course.
The first one
I've gone through his paper, and I was also shocked to understand that when we citizens that civil servants are supposed to serve, we are facing difficulties. We are totally abandoned within our difficulties, and I think it's totally abnormal.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mustafa Ngwana. We thank you so much for coming, and we hope to have you some other time again.
I thank you also. I thank you also for the opportunity you gave me to come and say a few words. I share a few words with the other Cameroonians on issues that concern our nation. I'm very proud of that, and I thank you also.
Thanks indeed, and to you viewers, we thank you so much for watching. We have come to the end of this edition of the Primetime Newscast on ATV. Have a wonderful stay in the company of our programs, and also a wonderful weekend. Good evening.